Hi everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Mitch, and today again I'm in Sitsanakabert Park, where the home of the genocide memorial is. It is a winter wonderland paradise here today, and so even though we filmed here last week, wanted to show you again because we had a great snowfall last night. I guess there's maybe 2 to 3 centimeters of accumulation, if we look at it like that. So yeah, I guess about 2 to 3 centimeters. I want to thank you all so much for the wonderful response to the last video. 3 reasons, top 3 reasons that, or things that I don't like about Armenia, and the one thing that I truly love. I was, to be honest, overwhelmed by the response, and so was Mrs. Mitch, even though she wasn't here filming it with me. So thank you sincerely from the bottom of my heart for all of your warm wishes and kind remarks. It's so encouraging to hear. So I wanted to begin today by saying that I'm going to continue doing these types of talking videos for a little while. It's not the weather to go out and film in villages. Difficult for Mrs. Mitch and I to do that. We will continue, but when the weather becomes a little finer and warmer, we'll again take up that line of video. But I do have some things to say regarding the Armenia and the internet. And well, of course, mostly I'm going to be talking about the problems that this generation is facing with internet usage. But it's a worldwide phenomenon. It's not peculiar to Armenia by any means. So I'm going to be talking about that today. Before I do, I want to begin with these words from the book of James in the New Testament, where James is saying, "My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience." I talked about a lot of trials last week that we're facing here in Armenia. The problems we have with pollution, with inefficiencies of government, and also our traffic problem here that we have. So throughout all of this, I try to remain patient because it is a test. It is a test of our faith. When we see things not as they should be, and when we see a lot of violence in the world too, and terrible things happening, it's hard not to get discouraged sometimes. But we're here, and many others of you out there are doing your best to act in ways which are honourable towards God, and let God be praised for that. We need a lot of patience. We face difficult times. We face a strong enemy. So yeah, that's my wife probably calling now. And sure enough, that was Mrs. Mitch calling, even though I had on my phone on Do Not Disturb. She kept ringing and ringing, and that's why it rang. So yes, that's one of the other problems, you know, constantly being available I'm happy to speak with my wife anytime, but there are times when we just want to switch the phone off and not hear from it. And so it's another one of the downsides to modern technology, to be quite honest. We're constantly online, we're constantly available. Anyway, here I am. Behind me there is the Genocide Memorial, where the eternal flame is up the top, and over the other side, or to the back of me there, is again the Hrazdan Canyon, and you can see there's a lot more snow there than there was last time we filmed. So where should we go now? We'll keep going this way. So what I want to talk to you today about is the internet and the problems that our generation faces with the internet. Okay, so it's available worldwide. Everybody uses it. Social media platforms, YouTube. I'm guilty of that, but I hope that the internet can be used for good, and it is in many cases used for good things. But at the same time, there's a lot of bad, I can say even evil things on the internet. Online gambling, online pornography, online craziness, people jumping off of cliffs into the water hundreds of feet below, getting millions of views for that, by the way. I don't get millions of views for talking honestly, for talking about pure things, but that's the way it is. I don't expect to. But for those that are watching, I really appreciate it, and I just want this to be a warning to people watching YouTube, to people using the internet in general, and especially for parents, how they must oversee the internet usage of by their children. You know, everything's available to see, and we have to be so careful with our children, the younger generation, how they're using this great tool, whether that be a mobile phone, whether it be a laptop, notebook, whatever. It has potential dangers. So let me just explain that I was born in 1957. When I grew up in the 60s, about the worst thing that we could see, or which was available to us, just beginning to be introduced, were like Playboy magazines, for example, on magazine stores. Often they were basically hidden from public view by a paper bag over the top of them, or they were under the counter or something. Then they changed things slowly, where they put it into like a plastic, put the magazines into a plastic cover, and you could see what was there, but you couldn't look through it. So of course, as a curious young boy, and boys at the time, we wanted to see. It's natural. But it has, that's the beginning of it, folks. You know, that was the beginning of the change. And these influences are not good for young minds. Now, on the internet, everything's available. All kinds of violent videos, pornographic, just horrible films with and videos which are completely unproductive, unhelpful, immoral, and we need to take control of what we're watching, because our great God has something to say about that. And we need to take heed of the warnings that are in the Bible. We need to take heed of our grandparents and great-grandparents who didn't have these things in their lives. There was much more purity, I think, in those days. Of course there was evil. Anyway, here's Dalma Gardens shopping centre over there. See that? Again, we've got the museum behind us, the museum there, and I think we've got the memorial there behind me. I can't see it. I think it's up there. Yep. The eternal flame up there. Maybe you don't like me harping on so much about this, but the world is a different place. It's a different world that I grew up in the 50s, in the 60s, born in the late 50s, grew up in the 60s and 70s. Already things were changing rapidly with the hippie movement, free love, everything like that. Family values were being eroded even back then. Sure, now it changed so dramatically again and again through the internet, I can say. So, how do we keep ourselves pure? How do we teach our children? Well, if we read Paul's letter to the Philippians, there's a very, very beautiful verse in chapter 4 and verse 8, and I'll just quote it now. Finally, brethren, whatever things are true, whatever things are noble, whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, whatever things are of good report, if there is any virtue, and if there is anything praiseworthy, meditate on these things. Yeah. What is pure and what is virtuous about watching evil and despicable things on the internet? Nothing. Believe me, it doesn't help you one bit, and it only makes you feel dirty inside. And God would have us to be clean, to think about good things, pure things. That's why I mentioned family as the number one thing that I love about Armenia last week. Traditional family values. You can't beat it, folks. God gave us the perfect blueprint to live a good life. So let's try to do that with His help, by His grace. Try to live a good life. Try to guide your children and be very watchful about their internet usage. Because here in Armenia, and I guess many other parts of the world, what I see is everybody is on the mobile. Everybody is on the mobile. Public transport, they're on the mobile. And what are they doing? 20, 30-year-olds playing games. What? When I was 20 and 30 years of age, I'd get a newspaper or read a book. And I was speaking to one Persian man just the other day about this, saying it was an art to be able to read your newspaper in such a way you had to kind of squeeze it together, manipulate it to be able to read it. But at least it was news. Some of it, in fact much of it, was good news. But you try to inform yourself, you educate yourself. Books educate us. Good books. educate us even better. Whatever happened to the reading of books? I don't know. Everything's online now. Yeah, we've got Kindle. That can be used for good. That's great. Fine, do that. But try very hard to stay away from the evil stuff and teach your children in the way that they should go, and when they're old they won't depart from that way. The Bible even says that. I guess one of the most serious side effects of compulsive internet usage, mobile phone usage, especially in terms of social media activity, is that without us knowing it, it enslaves our will. Now God gave us, isn't this beautiful around here? God gave us a free will to choose. He didn't enslave our wills. He gave us a free will to do either good or not good. Obviously it's much better if we do good. So my challenge to young and old is see if you can switch your mobile off. See if you can just be offline for a day, one day. How would you get on? Could you cope? Can you do without not being constantly available? Can you do without not hearing from your overseas relative or friend or next door neighbour or work colleague for a day? I doubt it. We become so enslaved to this, to the internet, it's impossible to free ourselves from it. So the next best thing is to control ourselves, to say, okay, I'm just going to do the necessary things and switch off. You know, I see some people who watch my channel and I go to their homepage and I look at the channels that they watch, and yeah, I maybe watch or have subscribed to maybe 10 altogether. What's the point in subscribing to a multitude of channels if they don't do you any good? So anyway, the better thing for us to do would be to go out into the real world, have real conversations with real people face to face, put our mobiles down while we're doing that, by the way. Worldwide phenomena is you go to have a coffee with someone, sit down, have your coffee and cake, and oh, here's a nice little track down here, and then everyone's on the mobile. Why? You've got face-to-face contact with somebody maybe you even love, but you'd rather be on the mobile. Is there something so important on the mobile waiting for you? You've got your love across from you, you've got your wife, you've got your children. Speak to them. Go out into the world, into the nature, and enjoy the nature. You don't have to do it vicariously, you know. You can do it for real. It's doable, you know. Especially here in Armenia. Anywhere you want to go, go. Go and have a barbecue, horovats in the nature. Walk like I'm doing now. And if you happen to bump into somebody along the way, you're not in fear of getting COVID. Okay? Sorry, there's that word again. Maybe I shouldn't have used it. But I said it. And no, we don't have to be in fear. We have to be sensible. But we don't have to be in fear of coming into contact with people. I saw something on the news just the other day in Australia. One man was out exercising in the park and he got somehow within close range of a couple, and the husband or boyfriend of this lady went and beat the man up. for running in the park and getting too close to him. I mean, what on earth? What on earth? Anyway, folks, let's end it on a good note, and please just go out into the world, do good things with your family and friends, loved ones. Enjoy the nature that God has given to us to enjoy. Embrace that. Embrace that. It's so much better than embracing an inanimate object like a mobile phone. Okay, folks, that's enough from me this week. See you again next week. Until then, it's bye from Mitch, and also Mrs. Mitch. See you.